This is a very unusual week in the astrology. It's different to what we've seen over the last couple of months, really. It's been very masculine, 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 and it's been beautiful and perfect. But this week is a week of feminine, 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 feminine. Sedna is up in the mix. Mary Magdalene is conjunct the sun. Hekate, queen of the witches, is conjunct Haumea. This is the Hawaiian goddess of fertility. They are in aspects really loudly with some of the bigger transits that we've been hearing about, like Neptune conjunct Saturn in the first degrees of Aries, right? So this week is such a feminine week. So you might be hearing out in the astrology, for those who don't do like embodied astrology, where there's really a good mix of masculine and feminine, asteroids, planets, astrological bodies. When people don't use both, there's really typically only two feminine planets, right? It would be Venus and it would be the moon. And then everything else is all masculine. So this week is a week where sometimes out in the astrology you might only be hearing tiny little things of what's going on because it's so feminine based. And that's what I want to give us this week. But I want to make it so simple so you don't have to know these archetypes. You don't have to know astrology to dive into this. The way that I hold this and will take us through this is I want to give you like real tangible stuff you can sink your teeth into. I want to give you practices. These are all just parts of self. So when I talk about Mary Magdalene, that's a part of you. Mary Magdalene conjunct the sun. That's consciousness coming to the part of you that is heart, sacred heart, right? So consciousness, that's just focus. That's just attention. That's going to happen on Tuesday. Consciousness, focus, attention is very much on heart. Now, what if we didn't know that and we were in like a super thinking thing and we were really trying to like power masculinize our way through something, and now we know, and that's my aim. Now we know that this is drop into the heart on Tuesday. Drop into the heart. Greatest thing you can do for yourself. In the first part of the week, it's going to be loud on Monday. It's going to be loud on Tuesday. It's going to be loud on Wednesday. Drop into the heart. Heart, heart, heart. What is my heart saying? What is my heart? Where is my heart moving me to? How does love want to move me? How does love want to answer this question? If you're stuck at a crossroads in life, need to make some big decisions, my heart, how is my heart moving me? So that happens on Tuesday, the 1st of July. Let me just feel like I get so wrapped up and I can just go and go and go and go. Let me give us a little bit of a framework for our conversation today. I want to take us through probably more so themes for the week than day by day astrology. I'll point to certain days that are loud, like we've already talked about Tuesday, very loud. Friday is a very interesting day, and so is Saturday. But otherwise, I really want to just give us some themes for the week because there's a lot that's going to overlap and it's flowing all together, especially when it's the feminine. We all know it ain't linear, right? You're not going to put her into a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday box. She's like, that shit doesn't exist. What are you talking about? This is just a man-made concept. Days, times, you silly humans. And P.S. you didn't even get it right because you got to put a leap year in there all dang time. And you ain't following the rhythms of the seasons, right? Like what? Why would you create a calendar just to create? So I like that we're kind of just throwing off the man-made calendar for this week that is very feminine focused. All right, let's flow our way into this. Let me feel for the other aspects to bring in. I want to talk the masculine big hitters that are going on. This is not just this week. This has been going on, but know that this flavors this week. We have Uranus. Interestingly though, Uranus, a masculine archetype, an outer planet. So it's not super personal. It definitely touches us though, and there is definitely Uranus in us. There is it is still a part of self. It's just a little bit higher of a vibration. The outer planets are a little bit harder to reach as parts of self. Sometimes that makes them even more potent when we work with an awakening of that sacred energy because it's so hidden in us. It's such a big awakening because it's not something that our life has necessarily supported it to awaken previously. Let me slow this down a little bit. So Uranus on Monday, so this is not this week, but Uranus on Monday goes into Gemini. This is the biggest deal of July. It is the biggest thing happening in the whole month. Uranus moving into July. Uranus has been in Taurus for years. I think it's like 8 years. Sorry, my brain doesn't operate super well, especially when there's so much feminine going on. It doesn't operate super well, like remembering facts and figures while I'm kind of in this mode. So you can Google that if you want. How long has Uranus been in Taurus? But for the last while, we've been very used to Uranus and Taurus. We got very used to it. Now feel into this. Uranus energy is nervous system. Uranus energy is the electricity in your body. Uranus energy is very slow to move through Earth. That's Taurus. Gemini is air. We all know a lightning bolt. This is kind of what Uranus could be represented by, is a lightning bolt. A lightning bolt will move much quicker through air and water than it will move through Earth. Now, Taurus was Earth, Gemini is air. This energy, and I'll tell you what this energy is in a minute, this energy is about to move really, really fast. It's already ramping up. He's at the final minutes, final degree, final minutes of Taurus. So it's all right. We're starting to get little inklings of it. Now, I'm seeing that this is causing, in some of us, you might not resonate with this, in some of us, it's causing heightened anxiety, heightened fight, flight, freeze, or fawn responses, because that's typically the response to an overactive nervous system, right? Here are some like fun lines, like my nerves are frazzled, my nerves are fried, I'm burnt out, I'm overwhelmed, right? Those are nervous system kind of words or phrases around that. And so if you're feeling a state of that, and heck, the world is speeding up, we know that, and the world is at this like heightened state of being like on edge, like on edge, like wow. And so if you're feeling it, of course, there's so many factors that go into this, but we do have this opportunity as Uranus moves into Gemini, and this week it's really supported. It's really supported to do this, however you feel to do it, is to consciously recalibrate your nervous system. Consciously, actively choose to recalibrate your nervous system. So for instance, I was in Ibiza last week. If you saw last week's astrology update, right? I'm in like sundress and like, this is on an island. I'm in the middle of the country. I didn't really see people for days and days and days. It was a very like island, slow paced, very nature, living in the country kind of a lifestyle. That's influences my nervous system in one particular way. Now, last night I flew into London. London, I'm staying in the city of London. We have our London weekend event happening this weekend. So I'm in the city of London. It is a very different energetic, right? Very different on my nervous system. But what I did when coming from island lifing to city lifing is I very consciously, very actively had a really good transition period for myself. Gave myself some really good practices on the plane last night, this morning, so that my nervous system recalibrates. I consciously and I actively choose to recalibrate my nervous system. So I don't go into overwhelm. I don't go into panic, anxiety. I am a hypersensitive person, right? HSP to the max, empath, right? Psychic as shit. Like I can be one porous SOB, right? But I also know that I have conscious choice in that. This is part of what 2025 is about, is really owning our power. One of the ways that we own our power is we own our state of being, is that I can very actively, very consciously choose my state of being, no matter what is happening around me. No matter what is happening around me, I am not victim to circumstances. I am master of destiny. I am master of destiny. And I'll feel for that for yourself. This week's pointing to that. This week is pointing to that. We're working with these exact practices that I do, and holding a space in membership on July 1st. So we're going right into creating a safe, sacred space for us to recalibrate our nervous systems to most support us now, right? In this collective energy, in this state of the world, in your state of being. Maybe you're in a transition period in your life. Maybe you're in a dark night of the soul in your life. Maybe you're in a lot of work, challenging space. So it doesn't matter. But it's really holding this safe, sacred space and working with like the sacred energy of the nervous system. Uranus holds the sacred energy of the nervous system. We work with the sacred energy of the nervous system, and we literally change the way that we think. We literally change like every cell, how every single cell vibrates in our bodies, so that instead of fighting it, so I would have fought London like crazy, coming from an island, all country, like nature, like I would have fought it like crazy. I would have gotten sick. I would have been just in pain. I would have been crunchy, angry. Who knows what my emotions would have been doing? All of my systems would have been on the fritz had I not done that. Now, we don't just want to do that in transition periods, right? So when you're going from an island to a city, or you're going from work to home, we also want to do that for this moment in time. Like, we know we're moving into new earth. We know we're in new earth, right? We know we're in some sort of new something, new human, new earth. We know it's different. And so we also want to really be able to give ourselves the tools, the practices, the spaces, whatever that is for you, right? To recalibrate, to bring the nervous system into a state where it can hold, not just hold, but it can joyfully dance in the energy that's going on. Okay, so what supports this week? Let's now talk a little bit about the astrology off of that theme, right? So this theme is nervous system support. What's the astrology going on? It's Uranus at that 29th degree of Taurus going into Gemini. He's literally saying things are speeding up, and they're going to speed up way faster than they have before, right? Now is the time. Now is the time. This is going to be new energy for the next 7-8 years. Again, I don't have that number exactly in my head, as Uranus moves through Gemini, right? The energetics of Uranus are revolutionary. It's revolutionary. He calls for a revolution. A revolution within self, revolution within your work, revolutions within the world. He's wanting to revolutionize. We don't have to think war. That's an expression of it. But he wants to revolutionize the way we do things, revolutionize the way we think. Gemini wants to revolutionize. This is all, we could say in one way, an expression of AI, right? I know the way I think because I jam with AI quite a bit. And it's, for me, this is personal. We all have our own relationship to this. But I've always been a kind of pioneering on the edge of new technology. I'm not necessarily a person that fights new technology. I'm a person who gets really optimistic about new technology and gets really positive about new technology and pours, oh my gosh, what could this do for humanity? What are the amazing things that it could do for solving problems that we haven't been able to before? So for me, that's that. But I know that it's changed the way I think. And now it's not just AI that this is going on with, right? As Uranus moves into Gemini. Here's the interesting part that people aren't talking about. And this is going to happen coming up pretty quickly. It's already happening. Uranus is at 29 degrees Sedna is at 1 degree. So Uranus on Monday, the 7th of July, crosses into Gemini, will be at 0 Gemini. Sedna is at 1 Gemini. Sedna is a feminine archetype. Remember, I said this is very feminine. So Sedna, just being a feminine archetype, makes this embodied. She's already doing this. This is already alive and well. So she's literally saying, I'm not just going to let you keep this in the mind, Uranus and Gemini. I am going to, and she's the deep underwater feminine. I hold the mysteries of the depths of the water, the sacred waters, right? Depths. She's deep, 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 deep. And I'll maybe give you a little bit about her in a moment, a little bit more. But she's deep, 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 deep. So she's going, I want you to go deep, 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 deep with this revolutionizing of self. And I'm not just going to let you keep it in the mind. Thus, we want to really bring it into the body. We want to bring it deep, 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 deep into the body, right? We want to bring it deep into the nervous system. We want to bring it deep into the belly, gut feels, intuition, right? We want to bring it deep into the hips. We want to bring it deep into our sexuality. We want to bring it deep down to the tailbone. That's what Sedna is saying. And Sedna holds, if there was one archetype that I had to pick, that would be initiation, alchemy, rite of passage from one form to another, right? A rite of passage, an initiation, you're going from one form to another, right? Alchemy, you're changing lead to gold. You are turning from lead to gold. If I had to pick one archetype that did that in a very feminine embodied way, that literally changed you from lead to gold, I would pick Sedna. Right? Isn't this wild? Isn't this wild? She's at 1 degree. We're not talking about that because not a lot of astrologers are necessarily looking at where Sedna is. This is the feminine side of it, and this is more embodied astrology, right? So I love that we get to have these conversations here. Just thank you for being here. It's amazing that we're at a place where we get to do this publicly. So that's Sedna. That is alive all week. So there is no date for that. It's building, it's moving into that. I heard another astrologer who really works with some of the feminine asteroids. It was actually Pam Gregory. And I heard her months ago on something, maybe it was an interview or something, but she was saying Sedna she picked 2 archetypes for 2025. Sedna was one of them. Sedna was one of the archetypes that she picked for 2025. Not wild. Deep transformation, deep transformation, embodied transformation though. Sedna's going to pull it deeper. She's going to make it deeper, make it more embodied. So when we fight this shift, this change, this is where I'm seeing, this could be very different for you. I'm seeing this a lot. When we fight it, we end up in a nervous system like wonkiness. We end up almost like hormonally out of balance, nervous system out of balance. We end up in a state that doesn't feel harmonious in our systems. And then it's very hard to get a read on what's going on. It's very hard to hear your intuition. And all it is just giving ourselves that space and that time for that nervous system recalibration. Really good to do this week before Uranus goes into Gemini on Monday. So you got all week before Uranus goes into Gemini on Monday. Again, if you want a guided journey into that territory, that's happening in Bones on July 1st. If you can't make it live on July 1st, no big deal. The replay will be in there. You can join for a month and just do that. It's totally up to you. What feels most supportive and most aligned for you. Okay, so that's one of the really interesting big pieces around that theme. I kind of want to shift to another little bit of a theme. I think going by themes is really going to serve. So let's go back to the feminine now. And let's go back to this Gemini energy. Venus moves into Gemini on Friday. Venus is also conjunct, because she's moving into Gemini, she's conjunct Uranus on Thursday. Then she's conjunct Sedna on Saturday. Okay, so again, I said I'm not going to get hung up in the dates. Venus is a big player. The heart, the feminine, is a big player. Heart, feminine, big player. Now, specifically, the Venus aspect of us. Let's say Venus versus, it's like I'm putting Venus against Mary Magdalene. But it's nice to have something to compare the two against. It'll help to, I think, discern what part of self these are for each of us. So, as I mentioned, the sun is conjunct Mary Magdalene on Tuesday. This makes Mary Magdalene energy really big. Venus entering Gemini. That's a big deal. When they shift signs, it's a big deal. Her being conjunct Uranus, that's on Thursday. She's conjunct Uranus, then she moves into Gemini, then she's conjunct Sedna. This is a big deal. So Venus is a big deal, Mary Magdalene is a big deal. Both of them are lover goddesses. Both of them are heart-based. Both of them have a sensuality to them and a sexuality to them. Mary Magdalene was a prostitute. And that's part of her myth, right? There is a sexuality to not be denied there. Venus, there is a sexuality to not be denied. There is a sensuality to not be denied there. So that's where they kind of overlap, and we could feel them as being kind of in the same, sometimes I work with 6 faces of the feminine, and one of the faces is the lover, right? So they're in that category. Now, how are they separate? So this is Tuesday. This is Mary Magdalene energy conjunct the sun. I mean, it's happening Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. We're working with her in London. If you're with me in London, you will know all about Mary Magdalene because we just embodied that sacred energy, opened up and worked with that sacred energy of Mary Magdalene. If you're in Bones on the 1st, that's also supporting that. Her energy will very much be a part of what we're working with on the 1st, because that is exactly the day that the sun is conjunct Mary Magdalene, is the 1st. That's Tuesday. That's when our bone circle is. So that will flavor it, and I am sure I will bring her into that guided journey somehow, some way, as we hold that like safe, sacred space for our nervous systems to shift and change, to support and to recalibrate to the now, so we can get the insights, so we can have this joyful freaking life and not feel stressed out and anxious all the dang time. All right, Mary Magdalene specifically versus Venus. Mary Magdalene holds this sense of like deep, deep devotion, right? Mary Magdalene, she would be Yeshua's partner. She would be Yeshua's consort. So she holds this deep devotion. There's a devotion, a depth of devotion in Mary Magdalene that you won't find in Venus. I'm sorry about that. I'm filming in the London Airbnb that I'm in, and I cannot control this beautiful grandfather clock. It goes off every hour. So my apologies for that. Maybe we'll just use it as, Mary Magdalene's talking. We'll use it as a sign of like, listen. This is a really important part. Let me see if I can weave off of that. So from this depth of devotion in Mary Magdalene, there's also in Mary Magdalene this real strength in her depth of devotion. Now, this isn't just depth of devotion to her partner, right? To her relationship. This is depth of devotion to the divine. Depth of devotion to the divine. And it is this deep moving through the world from a very, very connected place, always, no matter what's happening in the divine. Now imagine living from that place. That's just instant joy, peace, bliss, goodness. Again, we will so very much be weaving Mary Magdalene energy into our workshop on the 1st in membership. And you are so very welcome to join us. But if we feel into this depth of devotion to living from the divine, we suddenly trust in the unfolding of life to a different degree.
You know, we see from a higher vantage point, maybe a challenging situation that's unfolding. We actually, you know, because she watched a very challenging situation. She watched Jesus die. That's a challenging situation, right? She watched Jesus die. She was the first one to see him resurrected, though, right? In the first one to see him. That's the depth of her devotion. That's the being so grounded, rooted, connected in to the divine. To the divine. I'm not going to get lost in these surface level events that are unfolding. I'm not just going to see them from this state of consciousness. I'm going to see them from a much higher mystical state of consciousness too. Yes, I am going to grieve. So it's not a denial of the human experience. This is what I love about Mary Magdalene. It's not a denial of the human experience at all. It's not a denial of our emotions. It's not a denial of grieving a loved one. It's this and. It's both and visioning, not either or. It's and. This is an extraordinarily mystical experience. I just experienced this with my father passing a few months ago. I have not experienced grief at a level like that. I have not. That was the first parent I lost, and I have not experienced grief at a level like that. And it was experiencing that and expressing that and letting that move through me. And it was not a spiritual bypassing of my humanity. It was that and one of the most mystical journeys I've ever been on. One of the most profound spiritual journeys I've ever been on, happening simultaneously. I think some of you can relate, right? I think some of you can very much relate to that. That's an aspect of Mary Magdalene. So a practice you could do on Tuesday is replay that section and just go, what pops out for me here? What word stands out for me? What really resonated for me? And then make it personal. Get personal with it. Get personal. Like, why did that stand out for me? Maybe it was the both and principle stood out for you. Maybe it was the devotion stood out for you. Maybe it was the deeply connected to the divine, no matter what the circumstances are, stood out for you. What stood out for you? What stood out for you? It's consciousness, the sun, lighting up that aspect of self, on Tuesday. Okay, so now let's talk about Venus. So that's early in the week. We're going to feel that loudly. Then later on in the week, we're going to feel Venus. So if we were to shift and feel into Venus as opposed to Mary Magdalene, Venus is much more in the lower archetypal realms. So I would put Mary Magdalene, if you were to look at the states of consciousness, and I work with different levels of consciousness, I would put Mary Magdalene in the upper archetypal state of consciousness, the upper archetypal realm. Venus is more in the lower archetypal realm. There isn't one that's better than the other. It's just different. They take us to different places, open different things. So Venus is closer, her sacred energy. This doesn't mean it's not as profound. It doesn't mean it's not as powerful. It doesn't mean it's not as transformational or awakening or life-changing for us at all. It almost means that she makes changes in our daily physical lives more so when we work with her energy, possibly, than with Mary Magdalene, because it's closer to daily consciousness, Therefore, sometimes it's really beautiful to work with Mary Magdalene and then bring it down to Venus. This is a way of embodying it and integrating it into our lives. It's a way of embodying it, integrating that's higher state into our hearts, into our bodies, and then rippling it out into our lives. Some of the archetypal energies are like carriers into life. This is Venus. She's a carrier into life. Mars, carrier into life. They will do the bidding of some of the higher archetypal realms. We'll talk about this a little more with Venus in a minute. So Venus, when we just feel into this aspect of self, it would be, these are from a heart standpoint, right? From a heart standpoint, it's like feminine purpose is different to masculine purpose, right? Feminine purpose is like creating the flow of love. That's feminine purpose. There's two ways to look at your purpose in life. One is to look at your purpose of what must I do before I die to feel empty? What must I do before I die to feel empty? You know, like what must I build? What must I create? What must I experience before I die? to feel complete, to feel like I've given my gift, to feel empty. Feminine purpose is what must I create or build or do or make choice around in my life to support the flow of love so that I can feel the love I'm craving to feel. Do I have to have a child, right? Is that the expression of love? Is that how the flow of love most wants to move through me? That's feminine purpose. So Venus always points to feminine purpose. People will dull it down and say Venus points to your values. You know, of course, that's an easy way of talking about it, your values, but it's your heart values. It's your feminine values. And then people will also dumb it down and they'll go like, you know, what do you want to spend your money on? What do you want to go shopping for? Okay, there's a much more sacred space to Venus. You know, how do you want to beautify yourself? And people just judge the crap out of that. But for Venus, it's the flow of life force, the flow of love, the flow of energy as an expression of self, as an expression of life, as an expression of love. And so for her to be joining Uranus, that's the revolutionary energy. Uranus is also the Kundalini awakener. So remember we said that this is a very feminine week? Uranus is Kundalini awakener. Isn't that interesting? Kundalini is the feminine. Uranus is a feminine awakener. I want to awaken your Shakti. I want to awaken your Kundalini. I want to awaken the divine feminine you to the next degree. That's Uranus. I love this. And he's moving faster when he's in Gemini. Plus he's conjunct Sedna, who's going to make it embodied and not just stuck in the mind or disembodied or out there other than completely deeply in self. It's so feminine. It's so feminine. It's so feminine. Gosh, I'm really excited. Just feeling that gift of Uranus in my body, and I'm thinking about a journey, an archetypal activation with Uranus. Here's a little sneaky little insider thing that I wasn't going to mention. My team is currently working on getting Uranus activation available by the 7th, by the time this transit happens. I don't know if it's going to happen. I am just so trusting. I am in such a deep place of surrendered and just trusting. It's almost like standing in that Mary Magdalene place of just so deeply connected, like so in that and so not attached to the outcome of this. But if you're like, oh my gosh, I really want to work with the sacred energy of Uranus in myself, I really want to work with his gifts, his wisdom in myself, and I want to wake that up. How do I do that? Maybe just stay tuned. If you're on our email, you'll be the first person to know. We always send updates. I send a weekly email out actually now. I write the weekly, the ReWilding weekly. I write that based on this. It's a condensed version so you can go back and look day by day what's going on in the astrology and how to support yourself. So if you're not part of that, you'll find a link below to join the ReWilding weekly. We'd love to see you there. And definitely be updating everybody on Uranus in there if that's something that might sing to you. Okay, so that's Venus going there. So it's literally an awakening of more of our Venus with Uranus. Uranus is the Kundalini awakener, the form of Kundalini or the form of Shakti or the form of the feminine to be woken up on Thursday. I want to make sure I had that right. On Thursday is Venus. And so this would be, again, our feminine purpose. So this is a really good time to review flow of love in life. Your flow of love in life. I know when I am off kilter in this, I feel like I'm in a desert and things start to feel really dry. If I'm not in alignment with this, it's one of my markers. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm lacking love. I'm lacking the flow of love. I've been so in do mode that maybe I'm not in being mode. I'm not in, just flow of life force. I've not been dedicated to the flow of love and how fulfilled that makes me feel. So this could be really good to review and just meditate on, deepen into, journal on, what is it now? Who I am now? What is it now that would open up the flow of love that would really fulfill me? The feminine is very much fulfilled. I feel full. I feel full. right? She wants to feel full. Masculine wants to feel empty. I've given my gift. I've done my purpose. Now empty is peace. Full is peace for the feminine. Full. What is it that I want to create in my life to make me feel more full? Is it more time with my friends? Is it more time with my partner? Is it calling in a partner? Is it having a baby? Is it getting a dog? Is it planting a garden, right? What is it? Is it writing more, creating more, doing art? What is it? Really good thing to do on Thursday and even Friday, Thursday and even Friday. So Friday, now Venus enters Gemini. So now she's in Gemini. This can sometimes be an interesting transition for those of us who are very feminine based. It can often feel like, because it's so embodied. It's so in our bodies, and it's not mind. Although she is moving into the sign of the mind. Gemini is one of the signs of the mind. But to move out of Taurus, she loves Taurus. It's Venusian. That's her home. It's Venusian Taurus, right? In the body, Venusian. And then suddenly she's like, oh my God, okay. Now we're the twins, and we're like, it's very mental, it's very airy, like, so that can, I know Venus transits smash me, but when I'm aware of them, it's totally different. So you can give yourself some transition time. Knowing this, knowledge is power. Knowing this, you can give yourself transition time on Friday. Just give yourself a moment of like, okay, the Venusian part of me is moving out of Taurus, earthy, grounded Taurus, right? The sensual sign, and is moving up into the mental realm, the air realm, Gemini, the twins, right? Seeing both sides of things and moving into that state. That can just help. Holding that intention can really, really help with that transition if you get hit by those transitions. So then, I want to just check my time here so we don't go too long. So then on Saturday, right, because this is that tricky wild territory of, Uranus at 29, then there's Gemini obviously at 0, then there's Sedna at 1. Gemini is not a planet, but Gemini at 0, that's the shift into the next flavor of energy, the next chapter, really. So Saturday, Venus is conjunct Sedna. What does this mean when Venus, goddess of love and beauty and feminine purpose, feminine flow, love flow, hits the dark goddess, Sedna's a dark goddess, hits the dark goddess of the underworld? What does that mean? This suddenly is like potentially one way of consciously working with this is you could hold this intention of, may I be initiated into deeper mysteries of the feminine. Sedna initiates. There's a very shamanic flavor to Sedna. She shamanically initiates us into deeper mysteries of the feminine. She's almost kind of like, Venus, I'm not going to let you be so surface level. I'm not just going to let you be in your heart. I want to get you in your womb, like one level deeper in the body. I want to get you in your hips. I want to open up like cosmic womb in you and all the womb mysteries and the womb wisdom. I want to open you up to the wisdom in the sacred waters. I want to initiate you into a deeper depths of you. That's kind of nice, right? Sedna is an awesomely powerful archetypal energy to work with. Awesomely powerful. She's very much an initiator into a deeper depth of self, an initiator into deeper mysteries and wisdoms that are waiting in each of us to be woken up. And they're different for all of us, of course. That's Sedna. Okay, let me give us one other aspect that I want to go back to. I don't know that I can give us a theme necessarily for this one. I'm just going to riff around a little bit. So if Sedna, we were just saying she's very shamanic. She's also a medicine woman. So she's dark goddess, but she's also a medicine woman. That shamanic aspect of her makes her a bit of a medicine woman, right? And her fingers changed into sea animals, and she was able to gift that as food. So there's a fertility aspect to her. There's an alchemist aspect to her. There's this just real shamanic medicine woman aspect to her. this I think is a very interesting aspect that's happening this week also, similar to that thread, is Hekate is conjunct Haumea. Haumea is Hawaiian goddess of fertility, as one way of saying that. So she is so fertile that like literally can have babies out of her head, can have babies all over the place, can just be birthing the new. So creative, like so fertile. I oftentimes have her conjunct my sun, which is a very powerful place to have any planetary body, any astrological body. But I have her conjunct my sun, and before I knew this, I would always say, I am so fertile. If you just leave me to my own devices, I will just create and create and create and create. Like I can't help but create. I create for the sheer joy of creating. I create workshops. I create these podcasts. I create posts. I create retreats. I create workshops. I'm a friend of mine, a very dear friend of mine who's a really amazing writer. She's like, you're just prolific. You're just prolific in how much you create. And I know that it's part of having Haumea on my sun. I can't help but create. You give me a piece of paper and a pen, I will just create stuff. You give me a computer, I will just create stuff. You give me a camera and a microphone, I will just create something, right? Like I can't help but create. That's Haumea. Now, she's conjunct Hekate. That's the midwife. That's the queen of the witches, medicine woman. They're together. That's a lot of feminine magic. It's a lot of feminine magic. And they're in a quincunx to Sedna. I can't even tell you what that means. It is powerful medicine woman, powerful dark goddess, powerful in rites of passage. You can think all the things that a wizened medicine woman would gift you with. That's the energy that's going on this week. So that's Thursday that happens. They're also, Hekate conjunct Haumea is also trine Lilith. That's another dark goddess who demands liberation. She demands that we not deny parts of self. She demands that we claim our power and we claim our gifts and we claim our magic. And then all these, Hekate, Haumea, Sedna, these medicine women, these dark goddesses, right? These like witchy, beautiful, amazing initiators are like, wake up to more of you, wake up to your magic, wake up to these deeper feminine mysteries. Like what I was saying with Sedna is these deeper feminine mysteries. And you put all these dark ladies, I'm gonna call them, not dark bad, dark, just dark hidden typically. So how many people are working with them, right? That's why they're so powerful. Is because most of us haven't even touched these sacred energies. We haven't touched these Shaktis yet. And what they heal, shift, change, transform, awaken us, it's mind-blowing. So they're dancing and gifting this week. Crazy powerful week. There's a Birthing a New World masterclass. That's free. So if you want to do something with these medicine women, I did this week-long medicine women mysteries. I called it Birthing a New World. It was so powerful. I did that actually, I created that during COVID. This time right now feels a bit like COVID. Like there's a few flavors that are similar in my system to me anyways, right? A few flavors I'm seeing that are similar. Anyways, I created a free masterclass for that, solely free, and goes into this. We'll put a link to that below if you want to explore these medicine. This is the week to do it. Right? If you want to explore, like, what would the medicine women have for me? Because it's very unique to you, right? It's very unique to you. So I would dive into that. I would definitely dive into that. And if you want to work nervous system specifically, join me in Bones. Again, you're so welcome to come for just a month. There's like $700 worth of bonuses included in that. So you can just come for a month, try it all out. If you love it, stay. If not, it's great. You got the nervous system rewiring that's happening on July 1st. The last thing I'll mention here, I don't know why this is popping into my head, but there's the biggest, deepest, wildest work that I'm doing, the pioneering into something new for me. Not new for me, I've been working with it for about 2.5 years now. It's creation energy. And I'm holding the very first creation mystery school in Australia. It's our all-inclusive retreat. We also don't do all-inclusive retreats. I don't know the last time I did it. It was maybe 5 years ago. We did an all-inclusive where all these beautiful meals are included at a Echo, I don't know, an ex-Echo luxury retreat. I don't even know. I don't know these words, right? They're just like marketing terms, but it's a retreat center I've been wanting to go to since the very start of ReWilding 10 years ago. Talk about coming full circle and completion, which completion to me is also 0 point, which is also creation energy. And all of these planets shifting into 0 point this year is also opening up to creation energy and us becoming more and more and more and more and more powerful co-creators, like really being able to wield creation energy and how it is that it moves through you and how it is that we consciously create. How it is that we consciously co-create with the creator. And becoming more and more and more and more conscious of doing that, more and more and more powerful in doing that. So just in case that sings to you, there's a couple of spots left for that. All right, my goodness, it has been amazing to be with you. I will see you when I see you, where I see you, and how I see you.